Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box Special Edition Clobbering. It's clobbering time, and who best to clobber with than Mike? Mike, I was about to call you Mike Barron. Marcus
Yeah,
Kelly, what are you doing? Oh, look at that! You got good taste in comics over there.
yeah.
Cool.
There you go. All the covers came looking great.
Yeah,
I don't have it looks great. Coloring's a little dark. That's my only thing. But
colors.
I'm sensitive to that, so that's me.
Yeah, I
And that's
approved
the
it.
problem with all the comics. I thought that Vaughn's comic's a little dark too, so that's me.
When you approve it, I'm getting it on
No,
the computer.
it looks different on the
And the
computer.
light's coming through the computer, so that's something I have to
It
think
looks
about.
different on the computer, but it holds up. I reread it. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Look forward to the next one.
Yeah, the
And I
next
owe
one.
you because you had to send it to me twice and it cost a mint. So
I they said they said that the address was not complete, and it said what you put in the in it. So I don't know. You got to talk to the post office. You had a lazy postman that day or something. I don't know.
Well, they changed post office. Yes, we do, and they change postal people every other day, you know. But I
I
went to the post office and she put a note on it, so maybe that's why I got it the second time.
Oh,
I
okay.
went a day after you told me.
Because I was like,
I didn't want them to be lost.
I did my biggest postal error. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I have a comic that I shipped myself. I fulfilled myself, and I'm pretty proud of myself that I mostly did it in a week. I made two big errors. The first big error is I was telling the post office guy, I said, "Oh man, I'm going to be here every Saturday with like 100 books because I can only deliver on Saturday." And he said, "Well, you could go online and schedule a pickup, and we'll come to your house." So I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that." So for free, the post office will come to your house and pick up your mail if you have. So I did that, and then they said, "We'll also send you boxes," but they sent me priority boxes, and I used the ground shipping, so they sent the boxes back. So that delayed everything a week. So if you got a pint glass, that's why the pint glasses showed up late. Now I'm proud of myself because nobody said a pint glass was damaged. They all got there intact, and nobody said their comics were beat up. Now the only other mistake was Daniel Rodriguez, my colorist. He lives in Brazil, and I sent a comic to the United Kingdom, actually to Mark Miller. So it it's great. You just hit the button and it autofills the address, so you don't have to type it in. And then I cleared it, but I left United Kingdom by accident. And instead of Brazil, it said United. So Daniel's, instead of going to Brazil, it's going slightly out of its way to the United Kingdom. So who knows how long that'll take to come back. RRNT, yeah, it's open. This is.
Yes, then I don't have to talk so much, and John doesn't have to tell me to shut up.
So let's do the accounting. I still don't know what I'm going to do for Sunday Comics. People had some good suggestions. I got to look to see if I have that Spider-Man annual.
It might be buried though. That I remember that, and somehow I remember having a lot of the Treasury editions when I was a kid. I think the stationery store that I went to had a lot of those Treasury editions, and I remember having a Treasury edition. So like the Spider-Man is punching Electro, and it's like this big,
Those Treasury editions, I bought all those as a kid, and they all got destroyed.
They all got destroyed. Every single one. I got them all.
So now I have
a Star Wars one too.
I even bought the big bags and boards. They're called Life magazine size. And I don't know where to put them.
Yeah, that's why they're worth a lot of money. People go to cons and they're through the roof because there's not that many of them left.
So let's go through the comments. Devil Flyer Momentum says Plastic Man. So we're already picking sides. Tony Grigo says Reed would win based on his intelligence. What we're talking about is Plastic Man versus Mr. Fantastic. This is a good one. Can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Come on in and say it with us.
Yeah, because I don't have anything to say.
I have to stream from the garage, but I'll join you guys. Oh, he's being exiled into the. I hate the term man cave. Oh my God, do I hate? So of course, whenever I come down here into the basement, she's like, "You go into the man cave."
We're gonna have to do a show. We have to do a show one day, just on statements and words that you and I don't like. Man cave. I'm not crazy about boomer. There's a lot of
problematic. If you say problematic to me, it's almost as if it Get Smart door closes and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
By the way, Pizza Hut can't pizza. Pizza is not a verb.
Oh, Mark, you and I have talked. Marcus, we talked about this.
Same.
And
Stop making nouns verbs. You're killing me.
what about you, Matt? What words do you hate?
What words do I hate?
Yeah, I hate problematic.
I can't. I don't know.
I'm not used to. I'm sick of badass. I know that's so well used.
Oh,
Where everybody uses it.
when
Oh my
people-
god,
Man, that's so badass. Yeah.
I hate when people say, like, let's put this bad boy to bed.
Well, there's certain people that say it all the time that doesn't like Matt. You say that a lot. And Billy Tucci says badass a lot. That I really don't mind because
Nah,
it's part of your
badass
like
don't bother me.
vocabulary.
Badass don't bother me. But hey, let's put this bad boy to bed. Problematic. And like you said, when you turn nouns into verbs.
Oh
you
no,
can't
no,
put
that's
Pizza
no
Hut.
good.
Oh my God, I'm not buying Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hutting, yo.
Oh God,
Is that what you just said?
yeah. Oh, we're adulting. Marcus, you want to adult tomorrow? First
Oh
off,
no, that's another one. I don't like
first
that
off,
at
we're
all.
adults all the
No.
time.
Oh no.
There's not just like my parents were
Hold on,
adults
let me get my
24
lights
hours a day,
going.
7 days a week. You know, if you're using terms like adulting, you deserve to not be able to afford your.
Well, you're not an adult.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, adulting is an issue in this app that we call X. So
Yeah. But this, yeah, it's clobbering time. Words to get rid of in the English language. So anyway, I'm glad that Matt's here because Matt was one of the people that helped me come up with this concept.
I wasn't here last week. I was in Thanksgiving.
Oh, how was Thanksgiving,
Oh,
everybody?
it's very nice. Thank you. My son has a nice home there.
Where is he? Where is there?
He's in Maynard, Texas, outside of Austin.
Oh, okay.
He works for Tesla. He's an engineer at Tesla.
I've been to Houston. I've been to Dallas. I've been to Lubbock, but I've never been to Austin.
Well, I can't say I really went to Austin. We just kind of hung out with him, you know.
Yeah, I like Texas. Texas is one of those states that doesn't tax your pension, so it's one of the places that I'm looking.
We have a lot of properties in Lubbock. I could probably move to Texas. Not that.
What about
job?
Matt? What state are you in? If you don't want to say, you don't have to say. Did we lose Matt already?
That's a busy guy.
You're do they tax pensions you're in North Carolina, right?
I'm in North Carolina. I believe they tax it. I think they tax it. It's less taxes in New York.
Yo, forget about it. Forget about it. Everything less taxes in New York. So anyway, this is welcome to It's Clobbering Time. We had a nice little chit chat like at the beginning of the talk show when we ask everybody how's it doing. And this week we're going to talk about Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic versus Eel O'Brien, Plastic. There he is. There's Matt. There he is.
Neil O'Brien. There
Matt,
he is.
if you don't mind,
I'm going to show Matt my Deadpool drawing because he probably didn't see it from the studio. Which you are welcome to join us every week, man. Deadpool and Juggernaut.
You got too much glare out. There you go.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to like it. I'll show it to you anyway.
Looks like the Juggernaut is about to punch Deadpool in the nuts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, I thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of dick space between the legs there. He's spreading that shit.
Well, that's
It's a lot of man spreading right there.
Yeah. Well, it's only got 2 hours. I
Nah,
can't draw.
think it looks
pumpkins
great.
that fast.
That looks awesome. That arm looks amazing.
Well, I like the arm a lot. I mean, Deadpool is Deadpool, but I did like Juggernaut's arm and the weight he ends up with the shadows. That's what I like best about it, actually.
Yeah,
Did,
it's good rendering.
I would,
did
if I wouldn't
Juggernaut
do it,
join the X-Men?
I'd fix Deadpool a little.
Does anybody know in the recent comics is Juggernaut like part of the X-Men? Because he's not a mutant. You got to remember he's.
No, but I think Colossus was wearing the Juggernaut armor at one point.
Oh wow!
So, I mean, technically, you have the Juggernaut on the team, but you know,
That's how powerful is that? You know, if it could turn a normal human into Juggernaut, it's turned Colossus into Superman level.
Well,
All right, so
I'm gonna rip you in half now.
Everybody can be.
we're talking about Reed Richards and Plastic Man. Matt, since you're the newcomer, do you want to pick one of these guys and talk about them? Anyone? Which one do you like?
Which one do I like? If I had to draw one, if it was like if somebody was like, "Hey, which one do you want to draw?" I would rather draw Plastic Man because I feel like there'd be like more stuff to draw.
Okay, I'll buy that.
You know, like, oh, hey, in this on this page, you need to draw like an inflatable raft,
Right.
and then on this page, I need you to draw a bulldozer, and then on this page, I need you to draw,
A bulldozer with goggles, a raft.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like all of these, you're gonna need to put in the little like striped star motif at some point.
Right.
But maybe even have his head coming out, and like we don't really care about his anatomy of his head, But with like Reed Richards, there's a little more like it's just like a dude kind of stretching himself out most of the time. He's kind of like serpentining himself. But so just drawing it, I would rather be drawing Plastic Man. As
a character, do you have a preference of which character you like better?
Well, one was like a criminal and then became good.
Correct.
And then, Plastic Man was like kind of a gangster. So it's like, who knows what kind of like he could just like be kind of ruthless if you want. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's like that point, right? It's like, oh, if he's already a gangster, that means he's like gone some places. He's gotten dirty. But like Reed Richards, he's a scientist, but he's also super smart. I don't know. I mean, he's super smart. I think Reed Richards would probably win. He's got more stuff. He might like invent something.
How you doing, RR?
Hello, John.
You related
Marcus?
to that Game of Thrones fat guy who's never going to finish his book?
Yeah. I wish it had his money.
Yeah.
Oh, his writing talent. I mean, he's not an untalented man. What's the weather like there in the Northern Hemisphere?
He's not a man. So
a little chilly.
Here,
cold in North Carolina.
A little bit overcast.
It looks nice,
Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon in New Zealand. See, right now we're proving that the world is round.
Well,
right now we're proving it because look, it's dark outside of Matt's windows and it's daylight over there.
I'm not nuts about the flat Earth thing myself, but let's not get into that.
Anyway, does anybody have? I'm going to tell my prejudices up front. I'm just going to wear them on.
Sure.
This. Reed Richards is my third favorite superhero. First being Superman, second being Ben Grimm, The Thing, and third being Reed Richards. I love Reed Richards. I actively hate Plastic Man. I don't know why.
Right. So
I want to like Plastic Man. I watched the cartoon as a kid.
So no bias at all then. Well, I'm laying
out my biases. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be transparent over here.
Well,
wear them on your sleeve. Wear them on your sleeve.
Well, that's right. It's John's birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, it's my birthday today.
Happy birthday, John.
Okay.
It's my birthday.
Plastic Man was created by Jack Cole. Jack Cole's a genius.
Right.
Jack Cole's a real genius.
Sent me a birthday present.
Jack Cole worked
nice.
with Bill Eisner. And Jack Cole may have come up with, how Eisner put things on the billboard and worked in a thing. Cole may have been the one to come up with that. He did it all the time. And so part of the problem with Plastic Man is that we don't get to read them by Jack Cole, who can do comedy and do crime and do all this stuff. Other people, like John always says, it's hard to do a humor comic, and they always make Plastic Man humors, except for Grant Morrison and the Justice League, who made him dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Plastic Man is really super creative. He'll turn into your luggage. He'll turn into your girlfriend. He'll turn into a bed, anything he wants. Reed Richards isn't as creative, but he's super
smart. Let's
smart.
start with Plastic Man. He's actually the older character.
He's the first one.
Yeah, is he the first stretching character?
Well, I know that Stan Lee admitted now if Stan Lee created the powers or not, but he did say that he just said, I like stretching powers, so I made Mr. Fantastic just like Plastic Man.
Yeah, well, Plastic Man, like you said, he was created by Joe Cole. Joe Cole,
Jack Cole.
Jack Cole. Joe Cole was a guy that Henry Rollins was friends with.
Right.
Jack Cole was
King's brother.
Yeah.
Nat King's brother.
Jack Cole is one of the few I say legitimate comic book geniuses. The guy could do anything. He was prolific. He created I think it was Police Comics #1 was the first appearance. I forget what year it was, like the early 50s, and it was a humor comic, but Plastic Man was serious. He was like the serious person in a humorous world. We get it backwards now, and he never repeated a gag, and he was very creative, and he used his powers in creative ways. I'm a big fan of that Plastic Man. That Plastic Man, the original Plastic Man, I learned about later on in life. I was introduced to Plastic Man in that Plas cartoon when he had the girlfriend Penny, and then he had Baby Plas.
Yeah,
that was my. And Plastic Man always confused me because I'm like, is he DC or is he not DC? Because back then
it wasn't quality.
Right.
DC
they had the
bought
Earths,
DC bought the quality. They wanted the Blackhawks, and they wanted a sergeant. They wanted our Army at War. because our Army War Sergeant turned into Sergeant Rock were quality comics. But they bought everything, but they really just wanted those 2 comics, which is why some of these characters just threw by the wayside. They just didn't care. So
like you say,
nobody knew what to do. I don't know. Gil Kane drew Plastic Man in the 60s. Kyle Baker had a turn at him. Hillary Barter did a pretty good job with him.
Yeah, that was like the 80s and 90s. Yeah, Jack Cole, one of my favorite stories about Jack Cole was he wanted to, he got a job offer or it was an art school, I forget, and he was 16 years old, and I think he was in Ohio, and his father let him ride his bicycle to California for a job. So this was a teenage kid in the late 40s, early 50s, and he rode a bicycle. He had a sleeping bag, and he said every time he ate, he only ate ice cream because it was the highest calories. What a different world that was, just that you could ride your bicycle from Iowa to or Ohio to California. He took a job. He studied Will Eisner to the point when Will Eisner hired Jack Cole to do The Spirit. He was like, "You already draw like me." He's like, "Yeah, I've been studying you for years." And came back from the war. Jack Cole went to do other stuff, and then he tragically committed suicide after I think he was 41 years old. He was working for Hugh Hefner, and his career was going up. He had a comic strip that I can't remember the name of it. Like everything he did was a success, And then 1974, so I see these cartoons that were pretty bad, and then he's kind of forgotten about in DC, and then he kind of got revised. Almost, there was like a Hillary Barter cartoon, but they made Plastic Man the comedy wacky. They kind of made him Jim Carrey.
That's right.
Yeah. And I don't like Jim Carrey. Sorry, everybody. There's only a few Jim Carrey movies that I actually like.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't your wife Canadian? Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, doesn't mean I have to like. I don't like Mr. Trudeau. Neither.
I definitely would not have hired Jim Carrey if there was like a Plastic Man movie. Definitely not Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But
I like Jim Carrey, so must disagree with you there.
I do. No, I mean I like him, just not for Plastic Man.
I don't know. I think they would have done that. Hey, it's the Don. They might have done it just because he was in the mask.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. In the mask, he almost is Plastic Man.
Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of the history of Plastic Man. So Plastic Man, he's Eel O'Brien. Eel O'Brien, he was a gangster. I forget if he was the mafia or something like that, but he was an Irish gangster, and he ended up becoming an informant for the FBI. And he kind of like the Joker, he fell into a vat of chemicals, and his body is transformed into plastic. He's not human anymore, which is one of those things that drive me crazy. Is he can't have a kid. He doesn't. He's plastic. He's not. Reed Richards is a stretchy human, but he's plastic. He doesn't need to breathe. He doesn't need to eat. He doesn't even need to sleep anymore. He doesn't have metabolic processes. He can go off into space. Which Jack Cole actually played with these ideas that he wasn't human. He's immortal, and they showed that in Grant Morrison when he got reduced to pieces, and they found him and put him back together again. Things like that. He could shape change. I'm going to go into V&V rules, but he has more than stretching powers. He has a chemical ability. His body has been transformed into another element, plastic.
He's closer to Metamorpho.
He's closer to Metamorpho.
Yep.
Interesting.
But he can't. Metamorpho can form compounds. Correct. Metamorpho can actually form chemical compounds, whereas Plastic Man, whatever material he's made of, it does not remain. Like he doesn't actually become steel if he becomes like a metal gird or something.
Against plastic, he could become elastic.
But he can controls the density of it. Like it could either bounce off of him or it could like sink into him. Like there's a certain level of like.
Right. He could also control his weight because he has like I don't know like powers that only can exist in a comic book. Like he can reduce himself to like a sheet of paper and a little kid could pick him up. Reed Richards can't do that.
Apocalypse has a similar ability. He can control every molecule of his body. The one the Simonsons created, the X-Men, the X Factor villain, Apocalypse, control every molecule of his body.
I just realized
shapes and stuff.
There we go.
I did him wrong in the movies.
Did they? What? Oh,
what a
mistake!
when they do things correct in the movies, it's more shocking. So Plastic Man, what could he do? He could stretch. He could shape change. He could like release, like he could turn himself into like a gun and fire plastic bullets and stuff like that.
Can he? Can
Yeah.
he fire plastic bullets? Can he release parts of himself?
Yeah, because he's plastic. He doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have an undifferentiated organs in his body. You could shoot him through the head and it doesn't kill him because
He's like a T-1000.
Right.
Yeah. See, I figured he was more T-1000, but
T-1000.
I don't think that the T-1000, did he ever make like metal spears and throw them? Like he was just kind of like he'd create a spear and stab you.
He lost an appendage at one point when he falls off a police car and he reabsorbs it.
Yeah. I can see him like reabsorbing it, but the bullet stuff, that'd be kind of crazy. He just like starts losing body mass because he's turned half of his ass into a Gatling gun.
Yeah, well, he could change his weight, so maybe he could pull mass from this Jack Cole dimension. I don't know. This is
the Cole dimension. That's what we need to like
the Coleverse.
The Coleverse.
But if you could read the early Jack Cole Plastic Man, they're a lot different than you would expect. Like he had that trope at the time, the goofy sidekick Woozy Winks, who may not have been an alcoholic taxi driver, or is that Dobie Dinkles? I forget. I kind of get them all mixed up. But that's Plastic Man. I forgot to say he got pinched and he turned on the mob and now he works for the FBI. So he's a Fed.
So who's a bigger villain though, the FBI or the mob?
Well,
sorry.
This was the 40s. I'm about to say Edgar. J. Edgar Hoover, but I was about to say Edgar Rice Burroughs. Man, that would be something. Edgar Rice Burroughs FBI. There's an Elseworlds.
Wow.
Cash Patel.
Edgar Rice Burroughs, FBI agent, G-Man.
Marcus, you want to talk about
Lord of the Jungle?
Well, Mr. Fantastic was like as silly as. Well, at the beginning of the FF, if you read them in earlier, they had him stretching out. He got the cosmic rays and the famous, and he could stretch. And early on, he stretched his neck. He stretched everything. He stretched his fingers. He would go underneath doors, especially the first few issues, like 30 issues. And then as they get to be more cosmic, it was more like he was a science adventure guy.
Right.
And he could stretch and he could be really powerful, but he didn't show it a whole lot. And he almost never stretched his neck after issue number 15 or something, In
one issue, he actually reduced his density to like liquid form and pour it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he never did that stuff. Although I have to say, at FF 200, he took on Dr. Doom, showing how powerful he really was.
Yeah, he
was past
the side of his armor and expanded and blew out his armor. Cool stuff.
Yeah, but he didn't do all the silly stuff. And he's like Matt said, he stretched his legs and his arms.
Right.
And you'd have great shots of him like striding through the city and using it in a much more serious way.
Right.
Like we always thought
couldn't put a hole in his chest and let a bomb.
He could catch the bullets and shoot them back. He did that a lot. But and he would wrap himself around the thing when the thing get really mad. So he was pretty more powerful than we think. But his true superpower.
Strength, because he was always lifting up Ben Grimm, who weighed about 500 pounds.
I was always wondering about whether he really had super strength. I don't think it's listed though.
Right.
But Mr. Fantastic's superpower is he's about the world's smartest man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not Tony Stark, not Hank Pym, a bunch of world's smartest men. But that's his real genius is the leader of Fantastic Four. And if you read the Lee Kirby stuff, he wasn't all that nice to everybody.
No, he was
really interesting that he would have his characters snap at each other. Like you think now it's like, oh, Mr. Fantastic. He was like, shut up, Sue, I'm busy. Can't you see I haven't showered in 18 days and I'm working on this problem?
Yeah. You women with your stupid like needs and wants. He was like,
he's surprised when she like runs away with Namor, right?
Yeah,
she's like,
I'm gonna go get myself some fish sticks.
I'm gonna go get the Brazilian boy.
How about that Namor one that was like the Rich Buckler? It was I think Roy Thomas and Rich Buckler, and they had him almost get divorced. And Namor runs out to make Reed jealous enough to realize he still wanted to be married to her. Oh, and it's all full of Kirby swipes. Oh, every single panel's like the massive. He could have light box. Well, he did use a light box, Rich Buckler. I seen him do it.
Swipes. I said this before.
Swiper, no swiping.
people like him, but I was in his. He did a cover for us in the '90s, me and my partner of our characters, and he did it in a Kirby way. So we got to visit him in his office in New York City and his studio, and he's sitting there with a light box like I have right here, and he's light boxing a Kevin Nolan face profile. Like, it's bad.
Well, that was Rich Buckler's thing, is that he was the chameleon who, could copy.
Well, he could draw.
I
He
didn't
doesn't
realize
have
he
to-
literally
he doesn't have
copied
to
his
do that.
style.
Yeah.
His main style is a little more closer to Neil Adams than Jack Kirby.
So why do
But-
you need
Yeah, I remember I used to do like my uncle found somebody to give me like a tutor. He was like a private tutor in comic book art. This guy named Ken Landgraf.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I watched this on YouTube.
Oh yeah, he's on YouTube now.
Yeah.
Oh
He has a
shit.
bunch of things
Okay.
to ink in with like pen. Oh, I'm using this Pentel that's dried up. I just dip it into ink in his rough way of talking. And you see him inking in a real old school way like he does.
Yeah, dude. Yo, I used to go to his studio and he would just have cabinets and cabinets of stuff, and he would just pull out pages and like box them out. Like he wouldn't like swipe something straight
No,
up, but he
yeah,
would like break down the Marvel way structure of whatever the drawing was, and then would then use that to like build off of his own drawings. So he just had like reference after reference folders, like just tons and tons of reference folders.
"I'm gonna
I was
show
like, holy shit.
He
He
does
just
something
sat there all crunched over eating fucking sugar cubes, bitching about fucking Marvel, and I'm just sitting there as like a
I believe
14-year-old
that.
kid just being like, holy shit. This is
He's-
fucking Marvel. Like he's like,
he
I'm
never-
paid for Stallone now. Like he was doing these crazy abstract paintings for Sylvester Stallone at the time. It was wild, dude.
He would does it. He goes, "This is how I would ink this Gil Kane leg," and he shows you, and he goes like this, like, and you do C's 1, 2, 3, 4, counts them out 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you should look for them. I watched some. They're not that
Holy
long,
shit.
and it's kind of wild.
That's wild, man. Yeah, I'm gonna catch up with that guy.
He's
That's
a real
funny as shit.
underground. He's kind of like an underground superhero artist.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He'll do some adult stuff too. He's kind of wild.
what's the name of the man you're talking about?
Ken Landgraf. He actually
Yeah.
drew the first Wolverine solo story,
Okay.
and then Perez inked him on it. And he did Hawkman for DC,
Mm-hmm.
and he was an assistant for Gil Kane for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So getting back to Plastic Man. What-
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay. I enjoy this. This is comic book. This is the proxy comic shop where you're all talking comic book nonsense, But this is one of the things I just hate this costume.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's just a horrible.
It's like, what's the story behind it? Was he wearing this underneath his suit when he fell into the chemicals,
I
or
don't think so.
I don't know. That's a
I
good
don't know.
question.
I think. Well,
because they've got the same abilities as the rest? Like they're part of his thing.
right. It has to be like his unstable molecules, or was this the long johns he was
So
wearing?
this is a typical 40s costume when it's from a circus performer type of costume.
Right.
The
Right.
strong man at the circus with the big belt and an open chest.
The laces.
Yeah.
Yeah, they modernized it, but like part of me is like, who are you to change? So I feel like a hypocrite when they change his costume, but I have to admit that I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna present. This is like where is it now? This is like an acceptable reworking of his costume. What do you think of that? I kind of like that.
I kind of like that. Is you going to be a stretchy guy in Heroic Tales?
Yeah, there is. There's only,
It'll make more sense than that classic man, I'm sure.
But anyway, what you say about Reed Richards? If anybody does, if you get those collections of the early 10 or 12 issues of the Fantastic Four, they had vastly different personalities. The only one who really hasn't changed was Johnny Storm. He was always a girl happy car guy. That kind of changed. But Sue was demure and had no personality. She was interchangeable with the Wasp, and Jean Grey at the time. They were all the same woman, damsel with powers.
Oh my gosh.
And Reed was borderline sinister. He was
Yeah,
nasty.
all the characters had a little edge. Stanley, I think that was the genius. People always say, well, they're more like real people. Well, yeah, because his characters weren't always bland. They had a little edge. Now the women didn't.
And Ben Grimm would, if Ben Grimm would have been a villain, had like the other three like kept guiding him until he came to terms.
And that started almost. He didn't really calm down to like issue 80. Really, there was always spots of him getting really angry.
Yeah, I like if not for Alicia, like I could see him becoming a villain. But
like that's that one panel where he gets up and Doom changes him back to the Thing, and he just got Kirby drew him and Ben Colletta inked him, and he looks so angry. You even when you read it today, you would take a step back, like, oh, this Doom's gonna get it now.
Yeah. He crushed Doom's hand in the gauntlet. I always love that like in the first or second appearance of Dr. Doom. So anyway, so Reed Richards, what are his powers? His main power, I think we could all agree, is his super intelligence. They did.
Doesn't he use it at some point? He's like pushed his brain. Has he ever done that? Where like he's like flexed out his brain cells a little bit.
I don't think he needs to.
No, like
I mean,
he was a super genius when they hit the cosmic rays, but then if he needs to, he can like and like fucking make his brain fucking like.
I don't know. I mean, I only know the Kirby and I know the 70s to Byrne run after that.
Okay,
and then
sure if he's ever like
run after that. I'm not so sure.
I know Swamp Thing
flexing his brain cells and shit.
Swamp Thing sat down in an Alan Moore issue and literally grew a brain.
Well, the thing about the Mr. Fantastic, of course, is that he's married to a woman and he can stretch things, and
right. That was the joke.
The usual if you're 12 years old joke about Mr. Fantastic.
Well, they actually explicitly made that joke in the John Byrne run when they were in the negative zone, and that was the implied issue where she gets pregnant with Valeria.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. That's a sideways issue.
And like the Ben Grimm's going with them into the room until they're like, Ben, and you see Sue taking off her shirt, and she says, well, that's only one of the reasons why they call him Mr. Fantastic.
Only Byrne can get away with that. Though.
Yeah.
Maybe they wouldn't have thought of it.
Speaking of Byrne, right? Speaking of Byrne, when Gladiator shows up and then kicks the crap out of the Thing, Human Torch, and then a bunch of Skrulls disguised as the X-Men, you give Reed 5 minutes in his lab and Gladiator's done, right? Comes up with a solution to take out Gladiator. So while I think we can all agree that in terms of power, sorry.
Yeah, but so he's really, that's one of his main things, is he always comes up with a solution.
Yeah,
like everybody's credits
an ultimate nullifier.
Yeah, but Reed is a solution guy.
Oh, that's right. You have to get your ultimate nullifier.
Right. Anytime anybody says,
like, I got this motherfucking Galacticus, is like, all right.
Anybody starts with me, you're getting ultimately nullified.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't that destroy you too? Doesn't the ultimate nullifier destroy the person using it as well?
I don't know, because as far as I know, it's never really been used, right? It's all
theoretical. Galactus in the Byrne run too.
You can only use it once.
And the Shi'ar put him up for trial. Remember that?
Yeah, Galactus shows up different to every species. He's like
that was a little bit of a push.
One of my things about Reed Richards is like he started out kind of sinister, and I kind of hand wave that away as as Stan and Jack. They didn't really know, because like if you looked at the first 6 issues of the Hulk, he almost had a different power set in all.
The first issue of the Hulk, Jack thought he could fly.
Right.
And Stan didn't want him to fly. And ask Larry Lieber about that, because he saved he ripped up the pages and Lieber saved them. And you can see them, and he's just like this, like he's Superman.
Right.
And that's why there's things where the Hulk turns around in midair, and Stanley has to write it like a famous Avengers or in a Tales to Astonish, and they have to write around it because all these guys thought he could fly.
Right. And look at Thor. He had different powers every issue for a while. So like early Marvel, I think they were on a rocky start until they solidified.
The only character that really came out fully formed is Spider-Man.
Right, yeah, you're absolutely right.
And he was was he later, right? He was after all these other guys, like after Thor and Hulk.
I think he was after the Hulk, right?
I think so. I think so too.
It's just because Ditko had a better idea. It wasn't like developing a character. They weren't developing his powers. It was kind of like in set. He was like the wimpy guy who got picked on in school, got superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really.
And his life still sucked. His life was still crap.
And he didn't have
worse, dude.
Spider-Man,
Holy
man.
shit!
So
Imagine if he didn't get bit.
yeah,
Living normal in Queens.
no, if he didn't get bit, I think he would have been like
Paying rent.
to a villain. He was miserable. He was on his way to being a villain until his uncle
He
died.
would have been analytical for the New York Mets.
He would have been miserable. He would have been a miserable like incel, I think, if he didn't get the powers. But anyway, Reed Richards. So,
That's right.
like I like that. When I first started reading the Fantastic Four, Reed was a dad. He was a good dad with the responsibility of the world on his shoulders. It was almost like stretching was like something that he did in the lab to reach, equipment, because who cared about that power really? You know what I mean? Whereas Plastic Man, he was constantly in flux and stretching, and if you ask me, more versatile. So let's get down to this part. We talked about who the characters are. We talked about their powers. Can anybody name a Plastic Man villain or story? Because I know Jack Cole purposely didn't use any characters twice. If you read the original Jack Cole Plastic Man, he never reused characters. Plastic Man and Woozy Winks were the only, he never fought the same bad guys over again. He didn't have a Joker. He didn't have, and he never reused a gag, which is part of the genius of the comics. But there's really no, I hate this word, iconic. There's another word I never want to use again.
Wouldn't you think his most thing is his time in the Justice League, Grant Morrison?
You have to come to modern time.
So I'm not an expert. But would that be his shining moment as a superhero?
So can anybody
during the Grant Morrison stuff, during his JLI stuff?
He defeated a bunch of people by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know there was one story. It
was when he shoved his fingers up into somebody's nose and stuff. It was like, oh, maybe with the Flash or somebody. He just suddenly did that creepy invasion, just pushed himself into the orifices. It looked really fucking creepy.
And I know that he
suffocating him.
If I remember correctly, somebody couldn't read his mind because his brain was plastic rather than organic material. So
Martian Manhunter can't read his mind.
Right, and Martian Manhunter, I think, he's the premier DC telepath. So Plastic Man really is vastly powerful with all the things. And he went into another environment that no humans could go to because, again, he didn't breathe. The pressure didn't get to him because he just molded his body. Except they said he was vulnerable to heat because that's plastic. So if this was Plastic Man versus the Human Torch, I think the fight would be over instantly. The Human Torch.
Really? I didn't know Plastic Man had a fear of fire.
He doesn't have a fear. He doesn't fear of anything. He's kind of. And another thing.
Dude.
He's not dumb. He is like a cop. In his original, he was solving crimes. He never really got famous. I think Elongated Man was kind of a DC's ripoff of Plastic Man, like our stretchy detective guy.
I don't know why they decided to use Elongated Man instead of Plastic Man. I mean, what they got was Sue Dibney, but he did. Those were real detective stories that he did. He didn't really do superhero stuff. He was.
Yeah, I never read any of the original.
I did 100-page super spectaculars. They used to have them.
He was the reason. Elongated Man. Whenever my friends were like, "Why don't you like DC Comics?" I was like, "Elongated Man."
Well, Elongated Man was just short stories by basically Carmine Infantino and John Gardner Fox, and they were detective stories, and they were super sleuth stories. So he was sleuthing. He was a detective more than a superhero.
I would probably
his nose would
twitch.
There's a clue, and his nose would go like this. And his wife had as much to do with figuring out the mystery as he did. It's the mystery stories.
Yeah,
it was kind of unique to that. And they weren't long stories. They were just 10 pages. The backups, the Batman.
They were like the rare happy couple, which is.
It was kind of like Nick and Morty.
Let's stop there. Let's not go any further because we know what happened next with DC. So
I know.
let's pretend that never happened.
That wasn't a good idea.
I'm looking at this. I don't know. I just think it's such a great costume.
That's a nice picture.
Simple and elegant. I love this. I don't know, Mr.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Do you not like
it.
the navy blue with the white gloves and boots?
I hated it at first, but it grew. Like I hate every new incarnation of Doctor Who until a season or two, and then I like,
You just don't like change.
Yeah, change is bad. Comic book people are prickly pears, but
if Byrne does it, I was fine with it. Like Byrne could do anything at that time; it didn't matter.
I like Old Dirty Fatty. I learned more about comics when you guys get sidekick. Yeah, I don't mind. After a while, it's like the typewriter.
Yeah, I like this. This is
you hit the button and bring that thing back. I'm talking about typewriters here. Does anybody know?
But it's not just a costume. It's like it's an adventurer suit. Like
Yeah.
they're not always superheroes. The Fantastic Four. They were scientific adventurers.
It's also like
Opening up different portals and going inside to see what was going on and stuff.
Alan Moore used Tom Strong like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the Fantastic Four as a group of adventurers who like encounter annihilists and stuff.
And sometimes they do superhero stuff, but not all the time. Yeah, Nihilist, Galactus, like really big things.
It's
Tom
funny.
Strong is dope. That's some good
Tom
stuff.
Strong was so good.
Oh, I love Tom Strong. That's my favorite Alan.
Those of you who don't know, we're talking about
So
Alan
good.
Moore had a comic called Tom Strong, which was part of ABC Comics, America's Best
I like Tom
Comics.
Strong.
And when America's Best Comics got bought by DC, Alan Moore was like, wait a minute, I'm working for DC again, and then abruptly canceled everything.
Yeah,
I know.
Hates
That Tom
DC.
Strong was good.
Yeah.
I was going to make this joke. Doc Venture would call it a speed suit. Yeah. I would call
Alan
it.
Moore peaked with Miracle Man. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
The Miracle Man was Alan Moore's peak.
That was such a
Yeah, that was good. I like Miracle Man.
I would. This is like a little differentiation. Like a costume is when like the Avengers wear costumes because it's all unique. The New Mutants and the Fantastic Four, they wear uniforms.
Yeah.
And then I would also say like Captain Marvel, the Carol Danvers, the new one, her she almost wears like a military uniform.
Yeah.
Costume, Like I don't know. I guess it makes sense in her case since she's part of the Air Force or whatever. But it's a distinction without differentiation there between uniforms and costumes. But I said that to Vaughn Coleman when he was like, "Oh,
the original Captain Marvel was more of a uniform, right? Than the Kree.
Yeah, the Kree, the Kree
Marvel.
Green one and the other one, yeah, Marvel.
with that fin. Oh man,
Yeah, that was some cool stuff. That
if
thing.
you don't draw that one right, it can look real goofy though. But
well, we could all agree. I mean, hands down, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic has better villains. I mean, Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom. He goes Doctor Doom 1-on-1.
Yeah. That's
Moriarty is Doctor Doom.
I will go on record, and if you guys want to argue this will be a fun argument, but I still think that the Fantastic Four has the best rogues gallery, better than Spider-Man, better than Batman, but I'm biased.
I love the Fantastic Four.
What do you think, RR?
Well, for comic book fans or for the general audience? Because the general audience will probably be a little bit less aware of the top Fantastic Four villains, except maybe Doctor Doom. There's never been a good live action version of him yet.
Well, there's never been a live action Fantastic Four. They got screwed more.
Did you? I thought the 2005, 2007 movies were very well intentioned. I think they really those films came from a place of caring about the characters and trying to keep that family spirit, that family dynamic spirit. But
it was me. They were the best of a bad bunch. I would say some normies rather probably like Batman's villains because they know him better.
See, this is what the Fantastic Four does. They're out in a negative zone adventurizing.
Yeah. Adventurizing. I love that.
I can look at this all day.
Yeah.
That's like a perfect, like Fantastic Four, Kirby and Snoot and Stan Lee.
Mole Man, Annihilus. I mean, I'm just like the people Fantastic Four have dealt with. I could just keep going, but then with Plastic Man, even though I think he's awesome, I can't think of anybody.
I know. Did you think of a good what's your favorite?
I could say, Mr. Freeze would have been a dope villain for Plastic Man, but I don't think he's ever fucked with him.
Plastic Man's run was in the 40s, and after that, he's only been a bit player.
Right.
Yeah.
He was the star policeman, and then even then, the Spirit was in police comics as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Because Jack Cole's connection with the.
Well, he was also one of Will Eisner's ghosts during World War II with Lou Fine.
Yeah, Plastic Man mostly fought criminals.
Mm.
Right, mobsters and stuff. Yeah,
mobsters and everything like that. So I mean, I can't even mention a good. Well, the only good Plastic Man story that I could just think of offhand is when he got like disintegrated, and like had to go through time and get his pieces back together, and it messed with his brain a little bit. Other than that, I have a hard time thinking of a good.
that's
The
wild.
other is when he
That's
was
a wild
Wonder Woman's dress. That's the only other time people talk about him.
Oh, Matt,
Morrison really has his moments, Grant Morrison. So sometimes he's a bit, but man, when he hits the sweet spot with his writing, he's fantastic, right?
well, like Chuck Dixon says, Grant Morrison really wants to do war comics. He has no use for superheroes.
You're thinking of Garth Ennis.
Really?
Oh, you're thinking of Garth Ennis. You're right. I got him confused.
Yeah, because Grant Morrison has written one of the best Superman stories of all time.
Yeah, that's
Which one is
true.
that?
All-Star Superman.
Oh, okay.
That's right. That's
Forgot
right.
about that.
Yeah.
I got him confused.
Yeah, that was solid
All-Star
stuff.
Superman. John, did you catch the
Because
the finale of Superman and Lois this week?
I haven't watched any TV. I don't watch TV anymore. I'm like a comic book.
Wise.
Is anybody reading Plastic Man No More? Is this a new comic? Because if it is a new comic, I would like to know about it, because I'm kind of curious to see what they're doing with Plastic Man. Like I said, he's a character I want to like, but I just don't. There's a couple of characters that I want to like Elongated Man. I don't care either way. I'm sorry if fans of, but
You should challenge yourself by making up a character with some plastic abilities.
John's done that many times.
I
think John, you need
Like,
to put out a video with your. You should put out a video, John, of your list of characters you cannot stand. That would be great. That would be great viewing. I'd love that. John's top 10 worst comic book characters.
I mean, yeah.
Let's say maybe we should guess them and see if we get it right.
That would be fun. In my role playing world, I do have I have a Fantastic Four ripoff homage called the Force 4, and they're based on the 4 fundamental forces. You know what I mean? And I wonder if I could do that in the comic books without people accusing me of ripping off the Fantastic Four or whatever. But anyway,
Byrne did it.
I got Boogie, guys. I hate to cut you off real quick, but I got a Boogie. I'll see you guys later.
Before you go, who do you? Oh well. All right, so there we go. I don't think anybody could disagree that Reed Richards has better stories, has better villains. Their powers are different, similar but different. So, we'll start with you, RR, since you're here. Who do you think would win in a fight? We'll get right to the fight now. We've been talking for 4
All
minutes.
right. So, on one hand, I think we can all agree in terms of raw power, Plastic Man is much more powerful than Reed Richards.
I agree.
But Reed Richards has 5 minutes in his lab, sees Plastic Man in action for 5 minutes, 5 minutes in his lab, it's over. It's the old, well, I've isolated the compound that allows you to manipulate your shape and neutralized it.
The polarity, right? The old Doctor Who.
Yeah, I am afraid
exactly. So it's not going to be a stretch versus stretch battle, because Reed will lose. But as soon as Reed goes, right, I'm going to science my way out of this one, it's done.
That's another word. People say I'm sciencing. Oh my God, I just want to punch you in the face. We were talking about words and terms we can't explain. You're
sorry. I'm going to problem solve my way out of this using my scientific knowledge.
Yes, he goes on a mission with the Justice League that leads to that was a Grant Morrison issue that I really like. I was asking you, did New Zealanders apologize like Canadians? Is that a new?
Well, I'm not really a New Zealander, so I mean it's a bit hard for me to say. Not really. They don't. What is it? Sorry. No, they don't say that. Sorry.
I wish my Canadian wife would apologize once in a while, but that.
My sister's Canadian and she never apologizes. So.
She can hear that. The new Plastic Man is Black Label. I believe the author of that is killing. Oh wow, I don't know anything about that. This is the first I'm hearing about it. Mac, it's a DC Black Label comic. Interesting.
Oh, that means they can do anything.
That means we're going to
Black
see.
Label, you can do porn.
Hey.
All right, let's address these comments, and then Marcus will talk. Jack Cole is the only one who could ever write and illustrate Plastic Man worth a damn. I agree. You should have never. I do like the Jack Cole Plastic Mans. I got to admit. I saw them in compilation stuff. I don't have any of them, like the actual issues. You should never have incorporated in the main DC. I agree. I agree. Like I still think Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. You have to. They're both superpowered guys. Like Superman and Captain Marvel are like. They have the same portfolio. You have to give Captain Marvel a different reason. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense in that world. But I agree. The top 10 worst comic book characters, 1 to 9 is Batman, 10 is Squirrel Girl. Like I said, there's 4 Batmans. I like the Detective Batman the best. Yes, I already saw that. And okay, so we're all caught up. Marcus, what do you think? Who would win?
I have to think Reed Richards. I think physically he's probably like just physically stronger. Just like in these. Look how big and thick he is in these Jack Kirby comics. I know Byrne thinned them out, and he gets that giant fist. And I think he's just so much smarter than Plastic Man that he'll figure out a problem. And he figures even if Plastic Man puts him to some situation that where he's stuck, he'll figure his way out of it because he's Reed Richards. I mean, and it would be interesting because you have to use your brain to do it.
Yeah,
I
don't think there's any argument that Reed Richards is smarter than Plastic Man.
And I just think that's the trump card. I think Plastic Man is way more creative. I think Plastic Man could give Reed Richards some ideas to help him out to use his stretching abilities in different ways.
I think Plastic Man is clever, but I think Reed Richards is.
Although Plastic Man would probably cheat because he was a criminal and he's morally.
I really like this comment. Science is one of the worst comic book gimmicks. Yeah,
well, because nobody writing them are scientists. So.
Right. It's funny because in issue 2 of Heroic Tales, I'm writing Mary Sue, and Mary Sue is going to be the smartest woman in my world, but I'm not smart. So how do you know what I mean? I'm not going to have quote science.
If you want to read superheroes of science, you go back to the 60s. Like read Flash, Green Lantern. Like there's always some sort of pseudoscience that Julie Schwartz insisted his writer John Broome and Gardner Fox come up with. And sometimes they're real and sometimes they're not. And that's really like the science. Like usually Marvel was much more punch them up in science. So
yeah, I know. Like writing characters that are supposed to be smarter than you is tough. So I'm giving myself a challenge. In the first issue, her first appearance, she doesn't have to science her way out of things. You'll see when you read the comic.
Well, it's usually common sense to do it. You have common sense.
All right. So here's my take on it. If anybody fighting in a laboratory or in equipment, Reed Richards is going to beat you. I don't care who it is. You know what I mean? Like if you're on the spaceship or you're in a place with tools and things like that, Reed's going to beat you. But like if they're both throwing it, they're fighting on a raft in the ocean or in the desert and stuff like that. I don't see how Reed is going to beat Plastic Man. Plastic Man doesn't need to breathe. He doesn't need to,
Yeah.
He could change his density. He could change his shape. He could put holes. Like Reed could throw a punch at him. He could literally put holes and envelop him, and then just hold him down until Reed passes out for lack of oxygen. Things like that.
But Reed could do that stuff. He just doesn't.
But Reed needs.
Well, you can't do Plastic Man because he doesn't breathe.
Right,
That's
Reed
true.
needs to breathe. Reed.
Did Jack Cole Plastic Man couldn't breathe, or is that just a later thing that Jack Cole didn't think of whether he could breathe or not?
Well,
that's something like we think of now.
His pieces laid at the bottom of the ocean for thousands of years until they got reassembled. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's plastic. He's literally plastic. He doesn't have organs. He doesn't have cellular thing, and he could literally change his density to like almost steel like plastic into like goopy. He's I think he's physically more powerful, more more versatile than Reed Richards.
Mhm.
But that's kind of why I like Reed Richards better. Reed Richards, how many times he doesn't go and save the day as a powerhouse. He has Ben Grimm jumps in there and distracts thing, and Human Torch set up fire and force fields, and then he goes and assembles something. You know what I mean? Or comes up with the weak. Like he doesn't. Very rarely does he use his stretching powers to solve the problem. Like even Plastic Man, he's an insulator, so he you can't even use electricity on him. His only real vulnerability, his vulnerability, is extreme heat and extreme cold, and Reed has those same vulnerabilities. Plastic Man is the microplastics in the ocean. Like if I was to write Plastic Man, I would have him like stick his hands in the ocean and literally pull the microplastic and become like gigantic, like almost like he's like a golem. He could shed. I would have him like shed mass to become small like the atom, and then
right.
Because he doesn't. Every part of his body he's like an amoeba. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't.
I've got a thought for you. Do you know the way you're describing him? Perhaps a better matchup for Plastic Man would have been Impossible Man.
Impossible Man.
Metamorpho.
Yeah, Metamorpho.
Metamorpho closer to Plastic Man. And
Metamorpho would win because he could cause chemical reactions, and
right, but still.
But Impossible Man could literally turn into an atomic bomb and blow him up,
Yeah.
If Plasty surprises Reed, you win. Yes. That's always one of my pet peeves, the prep time. Anybody with prep time can beat anybody without prep time, is the way I look at it. Ben Grimm with prep time can beat Iron Man. That's the way I look at prep time. But
what would Ben Grimm do with prep time? Would he make a really nice sandwich and just eat it before he goes to fight? What would he do? What's Ben Grimm gonna do with prep time? It's like, I'm gonna get a hat. I'll smoke this cigar. What's he gonna do with prep time?
Ben Grimm is like,
prep time. You can figure out how to beat Tony Stark at poker.
Right, he's gonna prep time. He knows Tony Stark's. He's gonna fight. He gets some chicks and bikinis and booze bottles. There you go.
Well, there you go. That's
using
brain.
Blow, and that will do it to Tony.
Yeah, the Tony done and a bottle of fine scotch. Just leave it out there.
But I will say,
Tony.
Reed Richards with prep time is beating anybody. Like if you give
Reed
Richards prep time to beat Plastic, Reed is Reed will invent a dimension to trap him in or something like that, So, but I think like on a raft, like even in a warehouse someplace, Reed would probably pull out some impossible victory. You know what I mean? Because that's just Reed. He would come up with like, the chemicals in that fire extinguisher.
He would just call the Watcher over to help him out.
Yeah, well, I always picture the Watcher as kind of observing these fights in my brain.
He's supposed to observe, but he didn't observe too much in the. He didn't.
The Watcher should be taking bets.
Bet MGM.
It's like
Bet Watcher.
I got 2-1 on Plastic Man. Any takers?
Metamorpho.
I'll take that bet.
Limited, even though Rex may be immortal, is yet to be tested. If he could retain his sanity over a millennium. Okay.
Metamorpho, you read The Outsiders, Metamorpho always gets mind controlled. Right. Happens all the time.
Yeah, because when the character's too powerful, they got to take him out, or the rest of the characters got nothing to do.
He gets mind controlled so easily, right?
You go read some of those, even early 70s, like Dick Dillon, Len Wein, Justice League. You realize how much weaker Superman is in that comic than he is in any other comic he's ever appeared with. He's like complete terrible Justice Leaguer. Because if he was, he is the Justice League in one person.
Yeah.
He has all their powers. That's Superman. That's why he's the king of the heroes. He's the father. Because every one of his powers is somebody else's power. Flash has super speed. Well, I got super speed. I got heat vision. I got super strength. I can fly.
Superman is the original Mary Sue, but like I was saying with Mike Barron earlier, I don't have a problems with Mary Sue's if they're written well.
Of course.
But that was the point. So I anybody want to argue or come in and change? But I say, in a surprise situation, in the arena without a laboratory. I say Plastic Man is just too versatile, and because it's not like Reed wins every fight. Reed relies a lot on teamwork. Just solo Reed Richards versus solo Plastic Man. I think Plastic Man would, of course, in a laboratory, in a spaceship, in a place where he can the science his way out, Reed's going to win. But I think when it comes to sheer versatility and power, Plastic Man has too many advantages, And of course, now Reed knows they're going to fight. He's got 3 years to invent the machine. That's the Batman argument there. And anybody think I'm wrong, crazy, want to put up a counter argument? And while that's happening, I think we'll talk about next week's argument. Superman in the early years was the JLA Krypton. How often was Superman hit to the other more powerful? Yeah. That I wanted to tell this story because it warmed the cockles of my dead dying heart. Is my friend Paul called me today, and he bought 9 copies of my comics because he wanted to give them out to his nieces and nephews.
Oh, that's great.
And he gave one to I forget what grade. I think he's in 2nd grade, and as an elective, they play Dungeons and Dragons in his school, so he has a character. So he was like, "Hey, thanks, Uncle Paul. I like superhero comics, but I really like Dungeons and Dragons." So Paul was like, "Check out these cards," and he showed him on the back of my cards. Here's my card.
Right.
It has V&V stats, and he explained to him that there's a superhero game like Dungeons and Dragons. He said the kid's eyes got like saucers, and he was like super excited. And then Paul made a mistake. He actually gave him my signature. He's like, "Wow!" And the guy signed it too. So Paul's like, "Yeah, just keep it." I was like, "Paul, you live down the block. I'll sign more for you. Don't worry. Give it to your nephew." And the kid was like, "I'm going to show this at Show and Tell on Monday." So it just made my day that 2nd grade kid is gonna.
Are you sure that's a kid that you're not sure it wasn't your kid?
I don't have a kid, so.
Well, are you sure about that? I mean,
that's what my wife said. She goes, "One day we're gonna get a knock on the door."
That kid sounds like your kid. Your wife is like.
But I
Albuquerque.
That made my day.
You should. That's great. That's awesome.
Speaking of Superman, I just got Heroic Tales in the mail. I'm going to read it tonight or in the morning. Cool. Thank you. I've been asking everybody, you got it in good condition? I'm amazed nobody reported a broken pint glass. Amazing.
These are all great condition. The
Gemini
mailers really work. I've never got one. If any creator does crowdfunding and doesn't use Gemini mailer, yeesh, I might not have backed that one again. Because Gemini, man, they're brilliant. I have a whole bunch of them here.
Yeah, and it's funny.
Want to throw them out.
About 120 of my comics, I used other people's Gemini mailers. Once I started working on a comic, and like just today, I got a Gemini mailer for Mike Barron.
They're $1 each. Right?
Let's
see some money.
That leads me to a suggestion, John, for your next superhero SmackDown, your next Clobbering time. The Badger against another martial arts based character like Shang-Chi or Batman or Daredevil. The Badger against them.
That's a good one.
We could do that.
The Badger.
Yeah. And the Badger would have to have weapons. But
Badger versus Wolverine.
Too much advantage to Wolverine because he has legit superpowers, right? Whereas the Badger is just an incredible fighter and a complete nutcase. But
yeah, who would be the Badger versus the Creeper? That's
Daredevil, maybe Daredevil against the Badger.
Yeah, but Daredevil's got legit superpowers too.
Well, the Creeper's supposed to be. Is the Creeper super strong?
I think Creeper's. He's got a healing factor. I think.
I don't want to change this, but I want to ask you guys your question.
Sure.
My feeling is the movie Captain America has some level of super strength.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
The comic Captain America does not have super strength, except in the Englehart Buscema series in the 70s. But these other guys think, well, Captain America has super strength. Captain America, like Andy Smith, Captain America does not have super strength.
Ultimate Captain America does.
Oh,
and
well,
they based the movie MCU Captain America off the Ultimate one.
Read the
I think
first Ultimates, but not the second. I don't remember if he had extra strength. Or
not. Oh, there's stuff. Captain America in the films, he's got pretty reasonable superhuman strength. I mean, he goes toe to toe with Spider-Man. He survives a punch from Thanos.
I don't think they meant him to have the super strength, but they get him in those movies. He has to have super strength. That's just the way those movies are.
Has to. Yeah.
Without ripping on them or saying they're
Didn't
good.
survive that punch with Thanos because they reversed time. You know, that's a fan theory that he actually killed Captain America, but then they used the time stone and Captain America gets up after.
That's possible. I'd have to watch it again. Yeah.
I mean, in Endgame, he's got the power of Thor when he fights Thanos, so it's different.
Well,
but
he can pick up the module because you don't have to have super strength to pick up Mjolnir. You just have to be.
He's worthy. He's worthy. But what the inscription says, though, whoever, be he worthy, whoever wields his hammer will have the power of Thor.
Yeah, they changed that, though. Thor had, we found out in the movies that Thor had his own power. He did not need the hammer.
Oh, well, that was a retcon that come later, right?
Oh, that was a retcon, definitely. Makes sense, though.
Yeah, I guess.
I like the Thor movies better than most. I mean, the first two, anyway.
Yeah,
I
was really
good visuals in Ragnarok.
Yeah, I like Ragnarok. I didn't see the last one. It's supposed to be really bad.
Don't.
I'm not planning to.
The Badger and Ambush Bug.
Badger and Ambush Bug.
We'll do this. You guys got me thinking. Who else would be worthy enough to pick up Thor's hammer?
Wonder Woman.
I think Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Samwise Gamgee.
She killed
Samwise Gamgee.
Maxwell Lord, not the Wonder Woman that killed Maxwell Lord. The Wonder Woman we think of. Not Batman.
Well, Superman has wielded Thor's hammer very briefly.
He did in that crossover.
In JLA Avengers.
Yeah, Superman.
Nightwing versus.
Would Batman be worthy?
No.
Nah.
I don't think so.
I don't want him to be. Whether I think I don't want Batman to have any superpowers or any mystic like if Batman was to learn spells.
Captain America.
Yeah, Vision pick up
Spider-Man
movies. With Spider-Man.
Don't know.
Yeah, but Vision's not a human.
Right. Samwise is one of the best characters. Yeah, Samwise
Gamgee.
That was one of the better things when they were trying to pick up Thor's hammer and they were having brunch or something, and nobody could move it, and Captain America didn't. He did the same thing, and it did move, and Thor noticed that. That's when they had the detail down to that. That's where they had it. That was good scene.
Mm-hmm.
We forget those scenes and we take it as a feel. Well, this was all ridiculous, but those little scenes are what make those movies.
Well, it was a plan then.
Captain America jumping on the. Little Steve Rogers jumping on the grenade.
The grenade,
that movie. It's not just because the Red Skull wasn't that great. That's the heart of the movies. They lost all the heart of the movies. Now, I never saw Black Panther. I never saw Captain Marvel. I'd have only seen one Ant-Man. So,
No.
Well,
Wonder Woman.
This is the level.
She only did it because there was no other option due to the poor writing. I totally.
Yeah.
That's true. I remember when
she killed Max Lord because they wanted her to kill Max Lord, not because the story demanded.
I'm not super nuts about Wonder Woman being this super duper warrior woman. She's not Xena. She's Wonder Woman. She was a little wimpy during the George Perez Wonder Woman, where she was a little like it was a little like we would call woke today. But somewhere in between, where she's just super heroics and she's bringing her message to the United States. You know what I'm saying?
Did you like the 2017 movie?
I didn't see it.
It was all right.
Movie of what?
The first Gal Gadot
Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, I did like it. I liked it.
I thought the first one was all right.
Yeah, it was good. There were the problems with that movie with the CGI. After the Pirates of the Caribbean, like if you don't make CGI as good as the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I'm like.
Well, that's another problem is that a lot of these movies, they went cheap on the CGI, and they worked the CGI guys so hard that it wasn't as good as it used to be. You can say, it was better 10 years ago. Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah, the Captain America movie bug because there was no Nazis. There are plenty of high. Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't want to say Nazis, which is stupid because even I did a story with the SWAT stickers in it, where my character Liberty fought Nazis at the Battle of the Bulge. And I didn't think twice about it. I did it in 2009.
Am I remembering wrong? But when they had the Howling Commandos, did they have like blue laser guns instead of machine guns in the first Captain America movie?
I don't remember.
I think Hydra were using the Cosmic Cube, the Tesseract they call it, which has the blue space stone inside, using its power to create laser weaponry. Well, they were trying to.
I like where'd it go? Oh, Phantom Outsider said all the pre-add-on stuff for the Black Panther. My favorite Black Panther is a Black Panther without armor, just a guy in a costume who has basically animalistic. He's like an organic Captain America, like the heart shape.
Yeah, I like that.
Peak human. He has senses. I don't like him being Captain America in an Iron Man costume.
I always thought that Captain America, they had him team up really early with Kurt and the Kirby, the Tales of Suspense. And I always thought they matched really well because they're
right.
I thought they matched really well as characters, as partners.
Agree with that.
Yeah, I really like that. Like
Old Dirty Fatty. That's that. Yeah, he said it right.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman versus Storm.
Wonder Woman
We
versus
haven't done any women.
It's been done. I think that's been done in the amalgam. The crossover. But the thing is, there's no way Storm should win that. I mean, in today's world, Storm is the most OP character. Apparently, Storm beat Thor recently. That's ridiculous.
I reading comics before John did, so they got too expensive for me. I was reading some of them, but I couldn't bring them.
Don't blame you.
Read them.
I'm trying to, I'm trying to even think like outside of comics. That's why last week I said we had a good one that we'll do, and now I can't remember what it was. But anyway,
Heracles versus Wonder Woman.
Rogue versus Wonder
Woman. Heracles, that's the one.
I want to do the.
That's not actually a bad one.
I want to do the Invisible Woman versus somebody. I love her power set.
But who would be an appropriate sort of match for the Invisible Woman? It's tricky.
It's
Jean Grey, maybe.
And I reread some of the earlier Fantastic Fours, and she was nowhere near as helpless as everybody said Stan wrote her. She pulled the fat out of fire a couple of times, and she was fairly clever, as a matter of fact, just because she acted like a woman instead of a boss bitch, as Old Dirty Fatty would say.
Yeah,
she wasn't that bad. I mean, they really kill Stan Lee about that.
Whenever beautiful women superheroes fight, their costumes should tear in convenient place. Like,
I think so.
Like Caitlin Fairchild, right? Like every issue, like she would.
We got to get Aaron Lepresti to take off some clothes of Esther.
Power Girl saves everyone the trouble. Power Girl just starts with the inconvenient tear and goes from there.
Power Girl versus Supergirl. That's about the same thing, right?
Yeah. Well, no, Power Girl's outfit that she doesn't need to tear anything because she's got it covered already.
Supergirl would be jealous of Power Girl's breasts, as a matter of fact.
Aren't they effectively the same person, though? Like one's from Earth 2, one's from Prime Earth.
They are the same person. They just didn't have a Earth 2 Power Girl, so she got created when Wally Wood was doing it in the 70s.
Fair enough.
I'm a big fan of Marvel's Valkyrie. The blonde-haired brunette.
Oh, I like Valkyrie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like if we were joking a couple of weeks ago, like all of a sudden I'm CEO of Marvel Comics. I would. One of the things I would do is like, we have premier women characters, but we don't need to bad boss bitch them, and we don't need to like change males into. We got Valkyrie.
She was like that in the 70s. See, you tell me, you read all these comics. Tough women were always tough women in the 70s, and now they're all boss bitches. They're worse because they don't know how to write them.
Mm-hmm.
But Valkyrie always was beating the crap. She couldn't fight women, and she was beating the crap of all the men, and she had like a bad attitude. Because that was a second wave feminism in the 70s.
I think she could be just she could be Marvel's premier female superhero. Because to me, Storm is too tied with the X-Men, so she doesn't stand on alone. And I know people are going to say that Valkyrie, she's tied to.
Scarlet Witch has been dirtied up too much.
But Valkyrie, everybody knows what a Valkyrie is. I think she could be just so cool. She's got such cool.
Well, she was Defender, right? She was part of the
She's been
Defenders team.
Defenders for
If
years.
you guys want talk about a convoluted backstory, oh my
Yeah.
God.
yeah, it is. It is worse.
Barbara Norris, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
And she was
in the body of Barbara Norris and
Yeah, it's changed places. Oh.
Yeah, because they were trying to do a Thor thing, like a Donald Blake, I don't know. I kind of like Sif versus Wonder Woman, but there's.
I like that.
You guys want to do
Not
Sif
bad.
versus Wonder Woman?
Yeah,
I
sure.
won't be able to join you as I'm after a funeral next week, unfortunately. But that's a good choice.
Anything you want to confess?
No, it's not my funeral.
I'm not making light of it. I apologize.
I'll go Sif.
That's okay.
Sif versus Wonder Woman.
I think at some point though, just put it in the back of your mind to do a Badger. Like you have to have a really appropriate character to do a Badger. Like if Deadpool didn't have a healing factor, Deadpool versus the Badger.
Would be good. If Deadpool wasn't, yeah.
If Deadpool wasn't indestructible, Deadpool versus the Badger, because the two personalities would be fantastic fighting each other.
Deadpool versus somebody named Larry. Deadpool versus Larry from the Three Stooges.
It's funny. I'm really appreciating this Norse mythology because I've been doing a lot of research. Right now, I'm working on 3 comics. I'm working on Rogue Tales #2, which is almost halfway done. And I'm working on Eddie is Doomed, which I keep changing the script, so I that's not even the script. But I'm working on a 3rd project that I don't want to announce yet. But I think I give enough hints when I'm saying I'm Baldur the Brave and Valkyrie.
You're the worst about that.
Yeah, so I just asked Renzo if he wanted to draw like a mythological book, could he do it? And like a little, and he was like, "Oh yeah, definitely." So
Renzo never says no. God bless him.
And you know what? He could change his style. Like I have him drawing in a different style for another story, and it people like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "This is Renzo." Like, really?
That's cool.
It's really, really cool.
I like this work a lot. So
and Marcus, I would like you to draw. If Eddie is Doomed does well, I have a follow-up book, The Origins of the Top 10, and it's going to be 20 stories because it's Golden Age, Silver.
Oh, if you're sure, I mean,
because
I failed once before. I don't want to. I'm supposed to do something with Creative Faye. We'll see how that goes.
We're talking.
This is long. That's going to be
down the road if it happens. But
she is a really weird character. I can't get a handle on yet. I have to.
Which character?
Creative Faye. She's in the chat for most of the Kings and stuff. The young woman, and she's trying to interview people like you do. And she has this character, Manchester Fly, which good name, right? Because now you know. He's from Manchester, and the guy turns into a fly, literally turns into a fly, and I can't really get a handle on it, So, but she might lay it out because she does artwork herself, and that's. I was about to ask you, did she? So I said, that's fine. I'll use layout. I mean, that's half the work,
RR, do you draw or write or anything? No.
No, I don't have any talents in that regard whatsoever.
No, you could probably write a comic. I mean. This is CG. Everybody does a comic. All the fans want to do comics as well as read the comics.
Yeah, it's just not my area. If I do, you'll be the first people I come to for advice. But
you never had a desire, or you never created any characters as a kid.
Well, just when I used to play V&V and other role-playing games back in the 80s, yeah. But because you develop a sense of storytelling, right? But where I lack is I struggle. I'm not super creative, right? In terms of originality. So, it's just not it's not my area. If I ever do get the desire to do that, count me. I'll come and see you guys for some advice.
I worry about the same thing. I have my old character, and I'm like, well, I'd like to bring him back and all. And then I have work done. I have stories finished, Well, but I don't know how popular he'll be. Like. It's kind of like I draw it straight Marvel-y type of superhero. It's not a superhero. But it's like Flash Gordon, right? And my writer writes it a little tongue in cheek. It's not funny, but it's tongue in cheek, a little bit. It's not like he's making jokes. There's a little wink, wink. I don't know how that would go over in the CG world. It's a little bit of a throwback. Is it worth it? You know, I know what they kind of like. All like, I'm going to do this. We're going to be on the studio tomorrow. And what are we drawing? We're drawing Spawn. Last week, I don't want to draw Spawn. I mean, I'm going to draw Spawn.
I like Spawn. I'm not crazy about Spawn. Once they got rid of that power meter,
I don't have a link. The problem is I don't have a link like Deadpool. That came out pretty good, but I don't have a link to those characters. It's like watching, like, when I watched the Netflix superhero. Remember Netflix, Daredevil, and Punisher?
Oh yeah.
Like, I really liked the first season of Luke Cage. People liked them, but I couldn't really get into the woman. What's her name? Because even though I watched
Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones.
it wasn't one of my characters. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I think.
Do you enjoy Punisher?
I remember, like, it was somebody else's character.
Netflix
That's
Punisher. What do you think
about image stuff?
I didn't watch it yet, but I loved
Netflix Punisher?
in the
What do you think?
Excellent. Yeah.
I liked it. He looked like Punisher. He acted like the Punisher. I liked it a lot. My dad liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I even liked Iron Fist. It was very close. It was slow, but it was very close to the actual Iron Fist story. And it got killed because he's a white guy.
That's his origin. Is that he was?
I know he was. It was perfect.
Yeah. Kingpin was fantastic.
Marcus, did you ever make up characters for V&V or Champions or anything?
No, and I
Champions.
Champions
good fun.
You said you made up characters. Do you remember any of your character names?
So I played V&V, then Champions, then Heroes Unlimited, the Palladium systems.
Right.
Because my friends got into that. Me, just the Eradicator, which is one from like long time ago. I made up a heap of them, but
the Eradicator
can't remember.
Was my first superhero character also, so I think that's funny.
He was like Eric DeGuapo, Spawn. He loves Spawn. That's right. The 90s babies. And are doing the studio tomorrow, which is going to have tomorrow at 7, which is going to have, we're going to have drop-ins. RT Bear, Shane might show up, Joe Sontag, Dan Lawless might all drop by.
Oh, cool.
To say hi. And Mike Barron is supposed to be on. And I'm like, oh, great. Can we draw the Badger or Nexus? Oh, I love those guys. No, we're going to draw Spawn. I'm like, I might draw Gunfighter Spawn.
Draw Nexus or Spawn.
That's what I was thinking. I want to see what happens. It's fluid with Don, so I'm not going to kill him. Yeah. We always have a lot of fun. I mean, I got into this Deadpool thing enough, so I'll get into
drawing for a minute or two.
It's not my first thing. That's all.
Saturdays I usually spend with my wife, but
you dropped in a couple of times, John. That was fun. We made fun of you.
Yeah.
We sit there and we make fun of each other really badly.
Oh, I love Don.
We draw.
Mama Donna just snipes Don.
Oh, she cracks me up.
She's got good timing.
Mama kills Don. Poor Don.
Yeah. Just all right. I'm going to close this down because I don't know if you're familiar with MSK. It's also his birthday tonight, so he's going to have a birthday stream.
Oh, okay.
When he found out it was my birthday, he was like, "You got to come on, us birthday boys," you know. So, but thanks a lot. So yeah. So anybody disagree? You know, that's fine too. But
I agree with you. I still lean towards Reed Richards. Even in a one-on-one, I know how powerful. You gotta do a lot to outsmart Reed Richards. I mean, even Plastic Man, clever-wise, he still be difficult to outsmart Reed Richards. You know.
Yeah. Badger 8 slices Dion into fine paste. All right, so we're gonna close it. I think next week, this is one I have an idea right away who I'm gonna argue for, but Wonder Woman versus Sif, I don't know. Right now, I'm leaning towards Norse mythology because I've been reading a lot of Norse mythology. I try to be
like Wonder Woman versus Sif, except now
Volstagg versus the Blob.
Is it the Sif from Norse mythology, the Sif from the Marvel comics?
Yeah, they're different characters. Yes,
they sure are.
Because the Marvel comics Thor would beat the mythological Thor.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah, but all right.
Mythological would be drunk. That's why.
We're gonna, but the mythological Loki would beat the comic book Loki. He was ruthless. All right, see you guys.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Bye bye.
All right. Good night.
Thank you guys.